We are so excited to have you all here with us for another episode of A Superwoman's Handbook, where we talk about all things we don't normally talk about as women and things that all work together to help us be the best versions of ourselves. In my chat with Magdalena earlier this week, we really bonded and had a great conversation around, I don't want to say controversial things, but I'll just jump off from there. So, let us know. One of the most loaded questions I think we get asked and that we ask ourselves or that we try to teach the generation after us is success. What is success? How do you define success in your world?
That's a very, very interesting question. And actually, that's the beautiful alignment of the universe. Because exactly yesterday, I have seen somewhere in internet the question, what does it mean success to you? And that was the moment I was expecting it will take me a longer time to think, but very intuitively the answer came to live in peace, inner peace. And today morning, I was actually talking with my son around various trends that we are living in current world. And the society will have a huge impact on us, how we are perceiving the external world and actually how we are responding to it, which will be, I believe, very much depending from how we are set up inside. Are we going with the flow of that trend, or we use the process of thinking that we align, integrate with our inner values? And my son is young, so the materialistic things are the subjects among friends, which is absolutely normal thing. And it's great to have aspirations. But if we chase the money without passion, usually the money are running away. Maybe not physically, maybe we still have big car, big house, but we will have poor quality of sleep because we will be in constant stress how to maintain these money in our pocket, because we place ourselves in that societal race to have so-called better life. But what does it mean, better life? For one will be, okay, the luxury holiday, but then I know too many people who pay a huge price for this luxury holiday because they are unhappy with themselves. They are unhappy in a relationship. They will post a nice picture on social media, but we are sabotaging our own heart. We are sabotaging our own being, our own success, which I define as the inner peace.
So, what would you say to someone who's listening? Because in fourth grade, in high school career day, nowhere do they talk about success, or at least I haven't heard anyone in an academic setting talking about success being anything other than your job, your status, who you marry. I didn't even know it was an option that success
Hmm.
could be peace. How do you go about going on a journey within yourself to unpack within yourself what your definition of success would be?
When I will go through my past and as a teenager, I think I didn't know this kind of word as success. In my home, somehow the money were valued, the power of money, and the world was brought to me, you are no one as long as you don't have money. And recently I reposted on my social media a wonderful post. Someone did a picture. There were a group of white horses and in the middle a black horse. And I was saying, do not let other give pressure on you. Be yourself. And I shared that with my colleague. I said, well, it's better to be a black horse than black sheep. Right? More elegant at least. And somehow it was not aligned with my nature. It doesn't mean I don't like money. Money are needed. We also need to say that loud. Speaking about money, it is important because we need it for bread. We need to have life. And there is nothing wrong to have higher standards in life. But it should not be a primary drive, in my understanding. And I think I was for a long time, I was living in this kind of cloud. My success will be to be accepted by others.
So you're saying maybe when you were going through this journey and you were asking yourself what defines success, your first answer was to be accepted by others. Then you maybe went through a journey that that I want to hear about, that shifted you to change that, to now say success is peace.
I think that it's 30 years of a journey. Some time ago, I realized that every 10 years, there is some huge transition happening in my life. And I actually realized that when I was closer to my 40, which was 5 years ago. And usually within that round number of 10, 20, 30, I made a certain step that completed a decision that had an impact on me, on my life. And I wanted to say unfortunately, but that would be unfair. The most important outcome from it will be this decision had a huge bill to pay following. I used to say to my son, good behavior, good consequences. Bad behavior, bad consequences. And it's the same thing with the way how we take decision. Our intuition quite often will tell us it's wrong because we have somehow printed in us the norms. We have it. Somehow again, we do not have stabilized our emotional dynamic. So we will be driven by heart, by emotions. Here is the smart you telling you it's wrong. But my case is different. And I really believe in this scenario, it will be different. So you follow your heart. And then you have to spend a lot of money on tissues. And that's the least expense that you will have, right? Because you do not come to the realization what's the impact of that decision immediately. It will take time. And you will see within the time you become weaker. You adjust yourself to the surrounding you environment against your will, but you are too weak to step up for yourself. And that was a very, very painful discovery because you discover that, yet you still are afraid to take an action. Because in my case, I felt too weak to do that. I was still afraid, yet I was still feeding myself with a hope things will become better. The only thing I believe what rescued me, I call it a slap from God straight to my face. And in both very significant event in my life, when I did the very important decisions, it was like, okay, Magdalena, I see how really you wanted that. I showed you so much, and I believe effectively it's not your way, but I was patient. Now I need to hit the lowest button, and I will see how are you integrated with your values. I believe I passed the exams these twice. But again, it's not that the world becomes, covered with the rose. You need to really understand the consequences, the power of those consequences, and you have to carry that on your own. And what more important is, and I like what you say, for teenagers, we don't speak about adult things. We are not having these conversations in depth with young people more. And I believe it's wrong. We need to stop doing that. Everybody needs to find their own way. They have to experience their own world. Adult people need to stop saying that. They are young. They need to experience their world on their own. Save them. Our job as adults is to save them, to save people regardless. We might not be example to our kids, and that's okay. We are the best version as we can be. Our kids can say, well, you are not an example for me. Fine, let's accept it. Let's do not take it personally and be angry with the kiddo, because it's why we should that. But then do not hide what brought you to the situation where you are right now. Do not pretend the things are okay, because these things are not okay. I am not perfect and no one is perfect. But sharing the principles, the criteria, how we were living, how we brought ourselves to the position where we are today, how much we paid, what we didn't have in the past, and what took us to be the way we are today, and how much it cost us, and saying, don't copy my mistakes, be smarter. I believe it will not be a fast shift, but within the long term, it will change the dynamic, and the young generation will indeed start learning from others. Because from the woman perspective, we are falling in love. And sometimes this falling in love is wrong. We are driven by wrong criteria. We are driven by wrong elements, because we didn't have something at home, or we had something too much at home. And then this guy is wrong for you. Why? Because he is not treating you well. He is cursing to you, for example. I'm just making up now a situation. He's cursing to you. And I heard he's cursing to everybody else. And then the young girl, young woman will say, I will change him. I know this is how he is, but I believe I will change him. And I know how he was to other girlfriends, but with me it's different, because I do better soup. Because I take care of the house in a better way than the other one. And then we say, yeah, they have to experience their own, so we need to let them go and experience. That's wrong. If that young person doesn't listen, grab and pull. No, young lady, you will not go there. Because it's not a joke when we speak about the red flags. And if there are 5 other women have experienced this bad treatment, or we can see the disintegration in other person between the action, words, and the values, that's already made up. You will not change anything. But we have that tendency to justify other people's bad or wrongdoings, because I believe we are driven by hunger, that there are some elements missing inside, and that's why we will seek for that in other person, in other societal environment. to meet that, I call it toxic need.
I love that you bring up something that, I hear it mentioned a lot in music, and it's almost kind of joked about in our society, but we don't really talk about how true it is. The I can fix him complex. I honestly can't think of a relationship that I've been in where I haven't thought that. I've seen the red flags, but I have had, you said it perfectly, a toxic hunger for this person. And I think that I am so strong that I can in my weakness. And I love how you mentioned that, because that is where it comes from. In our weakness, we think we are so strong that not only can we fix ourselves, but we can fix other people, who then ultimately will complete the circle and fill the void, fill the hunger. And as you were talking about at the beginning, your definition of success kind of got me thinking about my definition of success, which I haven't even thought about before you mentioned it. It was very tactical things. It was, is my daughter healthy? Am I being a good friend? Like, it was all very tactical things, not something as, not that peace is not a tactical thing, because you can definitely feel at peace. But I think I would have probably defined it as love. And in hearing you talk about how it was your childhood that led you to kind of think initially that money was, that was kind of tied to a childhood trauma. I think my childhood trauma was love. I felt that love had to be earned. It had to be, I had to achieve something in order for love to be given to me. So it became then this constant cycle of, what can I do in each area of my life, personal, professional, as a wife, as a mother? How can I achieve so greatly that I am deserving of love? And that then still circles back to, we get with people who fill in those toxic holes to make us think that, yes, if you do this, then you will be deserving of love. If you do this, then you will be deserving of peace. Kind of, how do you break that down?
Some time ago, I have heard on the conference, the speaker was asking a woman from the audience who want to become wife. Most of the women, I want to become wife. And the speaker said, it's amazing, it's fantastic, but make sure first you will learn what does it mean to be a woman. And what does it mean later to become wife? I find there is a huge gap in, I cannot say within the household, because we parents are just parents by nature. Then we are having the educational entity, which is school. And I think schools shall put a bit more effort in building self-value, self-awareness qualities in us. We are learning, I believe we learn still important things in the school. Some people will argue with me about that, but as a baseline, we need to set up our brain somehow, so later on we are able to think strategically and develop further the brain in our interest. But as much as it is very technical teaching in a school, I believe this kind of psychological element shall appear as well. And how to disconnect. Learn from others. For young people, listen, adult woman. And going back to this woman from the conference, important is that you know your values. What are your values? When we are 13, when we are 14, I want to play with my Barbie. I want to play out with my friends, going for the bike. I'm not thinking about these elements. At the same time, I am not aware that the surrounding me environment is shaping my mindset without my knowledge. And it was very similarly to, as you were sharing, that to make sure the love must be earned. It was exactly the same way. The critic, how you should be. The critic, how you shouldn't be. Critic, how others are wrong, how others are bad. And soaking in that environment where only negative aspects are shared about other people, you are not aware. But then you are leaving the house. Oh, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is not how you should be because I'm perfect. It's a sociological suicide, right? But you are not aware. You are a rookie. You are a young chicken, yellow chicken, and you play adult. And I think observing adults and activating this really thinking, not ignoring experiences of adults, the stories that we have plenty, most probably more negative stories we do have, survival stories we do have than the happy ones. So that's statistics. So data doesn't lie, right? So yes, definitely young people should start trusting that and to learn what are important things around me, what kind of friends I do have around me, why I am friends with them. I realized the power of friendship when I was already adult. I understood that the chemistry that eventually is filling me in and also in unnatural way shaping my mindset. So you don't even know where you become a people pleaser. Then in that conversation, you will be discussing what makes you happy. When other people are happy. Okay. So we know that you are absolutely fulfilled with toxic needs and you are pleasing people because you are seeking attention. You are seeking love. You are seeking acceptance. And another tragic thing for me is we are looking for that in other people's eyes. At the same time, we develop even hate towards ourselves.
That is just so profound because I'm sure so many people are listening and can resonate with that exact cycle of feelings is kind of how I'll articulate it. And it leads me to think about a story, an example that you shared when we spoke originally about hugging and how that relates to your friendships. And I probably sat with myself for 20 minutes after we got off our call and really unpacked that in myself and thought through the the journey you had to go through to discover that in yourself. And then the bravery to own that in yourself because it is very counter to our culture. And then how to navigate a path forward after making that self-discovery. So I wanted to see if you could kind of talk us through that.
When I was 40, and I have experienced very significant event in my life, that is what I called the slap from God into my face. I already knew the chemicals in me are already boiling. And I knew the things are not right. I'm very unhappy. And I could feel I have more things to say. But because of I don't actually know why, I did it to myself. Cut the wings, cut the wings, cut the wings. And, the pipe around the neck, like, you want to speak? No, you will not speak. You will not speak. But then I had the exam, which I passed, the moment was, it will sound horrible because I will say amazing, but it was because I felt within the second 3. There was a processes years ago started to reveal in my mind in front of me, but I didn't get the strength to voice it up. So there was a battle and a monster because I didn't, it made me angry inside. The anger, the inner battle was, I am not able to manage that. And somehow, terribly, the anger was my source. So I was really harming myself. Instead to say stop, I took myself on a journey of harming. And one of those things where I'm not voicing up, I already understood why I made the decisions that brought me to the situation where I am. But now I need to find a way out. I didn't have a power, but somehow the other side, my personal mental development, professional development, kept me on the right leg straight. So I was waving on my left, but the right side, I stayed very much integrated. And it helped me to learn. Through learning about the leadership, through learning about the management, I just used the learnings, the qualities, the theories, and adapted to my personal life. And I started to be more solid. I was able to understand the weaknesses, the gaps in me, but it was only theoretical. Power, yes. The action is the final one. So the moment revealed the truth, I'm free. Because I already knew why I made my decisions, it is acceptance and being loved. Basic human being needs. Sounds trivial, but they are basic. And each of us will have different dimension how we feel these two qualities. So, okay, these are the things. I'm staying right now alone because I need to understand who I am. Because for the last 30 years, or 20, let's say, I was adapting myself to the surrounding me environment to be accepted, to be loved. Yes. But no, I started to practice yoga. I didn't say too much about my personal life, what is happening. I started to practice yoga. I connected more intense with Bible, with God, in terms of studying the words of God and adapting the values. And I could feel that my spine is straightening up. My values are sharpening. I find the connection that I lost and I made it strong. I understood slight red flag, even in building the regular relation with other person, not the love relationship. Walk away. No justification. Screen immediately. Don't think, maybe I will give him a second chance. Maybe I will give her a second chance. No. And similar conversations I had, oh, Magdalena, why you are not with, why you don't date? Because I'm okay. Rebuilding yourself takes time. And I have my passion. I have my family, my son, and I really enjoy my world. my friend, I mean, with many people actually, I was talking how we are finding ourselves in the relationships. That's another element of hunger, the toxic needs. Especially today, you referred something to songs. We speak about many things openly. And we go for a date, nightclub, loud music, drink, drink, drink. What kind of date was that? What did you get to know about him? Next day, he was cute. Okay. You shall look into the mirror with all respect to the young lady. But unfortunately, it was not the right setup you put yourself on. Because if we want to meet someone, go for a coffee during the daytime. Already with the coffee, you can understand either there is a dynamic in the conversation or not, or you need to stretch yourself to make the conversation. In a club, you don't need that because it's a music and yeah, and more drink. What do you know? You know nothing. Yes. And definitely love time can wait. Love time can wait. Have own values. And as long, I believe that too, as long as we don't have a vision for ourselves, I'm not saying in details, but vision, and we want to have where we are developing the passion, be careful, because getting together with someone where you are not shaped yet strongly, most probably you will end up compromising certain elements for the other person. Yes, this is what I would say. Have courage and trust yourself. You will not miss anything. But definitely as a young person and later as an adult person, elder person, you will know that you did not spend all this time to figure out what to do next, how to survive. Because it took me 20 years. 20 years. So how can I say right now and agree, let young people experience their own world? It's 20 years. No one will give me that back. So connecting with people, friendship, at work, I believe we need to have kind of foundation in us that will be our drive, how we are connecting and whom we are allowing to come close to us. Are they shrinking our wings or they blow the wind into them so we can fly and they are not afraid that we fly away? Yes, because if we feel safe, we come back.
I mean, that takes strength on both sides. It takes strength from the person. You talk about clipping your wings and compromising. And I think we do that as a natural nature because that's easier to do than to do the self work to figure out if someone is putting wind under our wings. And then, oh gosh, the harsh reality when we determine that they're not that person and you so badly want them to be that person. And then we get into our fixer cycle. Oh, I can fix this person. I can make them be the wind beneath my wings. And that is just such a heartbreaking is the only word I can think of with that cycle because you've compromised yourself by not getting what you need. You've compromised the other person because you're also not what they need. And then you've compromised the whole cycle, possibly bringing in other collateral damage at this point that you've accumulated over 20 years, whether it's children or mutual friendships or things like that. And you mentioned on our call, our first call, that you're a tough love person, which I really resonated with because I'm very much the same. And how do you because that can be a very polarizing thing. That can be a real divisive thing in relationship when if you have that love language like what I have, that just rub some dirt on it and keep going, I'm not going to give you empty words. That can really not work well for someone. So how did you go about discovering that you weren't going to hug someone just to empty hug them, or you weren't going to just give them empty words, it'll be okay, and then owning that in yourself, but then finding friends that were also owning that in themselves?
I think if I do not like talk too much about the issues. Usually when we need a hug, it's because of some negative situation that had happened in our life. And there will be situation, of course, very dramatic, and it's completely something else. But what I found in myself, which most probably is also related to the life and the price for decisions that I had to pay, that I had to go through that on my own. So within that journey, naturally, I have developed a male muscle, mental muscle in me. I cannot cry at every little thing. I just need to, take my backpack, and I have to have a strength in me to walk. Oh, it's raining. Fine, cool. I'll keep going. So little scratch here, little scratch there does not get my attention, actually. And automatically, emotionally, is making me withdrawn for that. If I'm having the situations where we can take a control, but we keep complaining, keep crying, the bad things are happening, I find in me difficulties. Because we own our world. We are author of our own world, our own life. Complaining how this other person is making my life bad is not a justification. And I would rather say, okay, what do you need me to do? What do you need for me? What kind of tools you get to know I have that may help you? Usually they don't have answer. Usually it's a hug, because hug is extension of accepting the other person to be in this kind of situation. And then what is following, everything will be fine. That's where I find the emptiness. Because no, nothing will be fine as long as you take action to make the change happening. And another thing is, no one will take that step for you. So for me, I will hug when I know I have tools that I can offer. When it's standard circle, I will just sit there and, okay, so what do you think you can do next? And again, people avoid to answer. They have solutions, they have possibilities. And I think for the respect, there's also something in me. For the respect of other people who do not have that luxury to take a decision, I have difficulties to accept passive behavior. Because I know there are many women, many people who are not having financially possibilities, physically, psychologically, they do not have possibilities to walk away, to change something in their life. And because I was afraid for so many years, despite I had conditions, I feel somehow obliged that I take action over sitting and talking, because I have tools to do the change for the respect of people who can't. So I think a bit complex, maybe philanthropic, but somehow, yes, this is how my brain is operating. And like you said, it might be cold, and I accept that. But you have me in your corner. You want to steal horses? You have me in your corner. Absolutely. And I will not ask anything. But the passive attitude is something that I will not take a part in. And the other thing I want to refer about the friends, like you mentioned, why we are with people friends. You know, I think it can be relevant even for the young people. You have a problem, kids are having problems, and even with parents, yes? And you say, I have a problem, you know, my mom doesn't allow me to go for that party, or my mom doesn't accept my boyfriend, and I don't know what to do. If the friend will ask following questions, but what do you mean? What your mom said? Maybe you are understanding that wrong. But did you speak with your dad? Maybe you should prepare yourself better. Maybe what kind of arguments you have used? Maybe you just burn out yourself. And your mom, maybe your mom was tired or angry with your dad, whatever. But set of leading questions. It means a friend is actually with attention on you. When you come to a friend and saying, I'm having a trouble. Oh, you know what? I had recently exactly the same trouble. And you know what I did? And oh my God, that's the trauma. You have your answer. You did only one question, and the attention was immediately shifted to your friend. It's very, very easy way how you can navigate. Who will cut your wing or who will blow wind into your wings?
I love how you put it so simply like that, because at every age, and you talked about kind of your 10-year marks and how you had major shifts in your life. And I was thinking back, and I've had a similar journey. And so it kind of reminded me we're not special. We're not different. Our lives follow very similar paths, and being honest with ourselves and honest with our friends versus, just telling ourselves what we want to hear, which I know I've done a lot. Oh, this will fix itself. Oh, that's not really a red flag. Oh, this will turn out okay. We do it to ourselves. And so we go, okay, it's okay to do it to our friends. It's not okay to do to ourselves. It's not okay to do to our friends. But wow, that is such a departure from, I think, the way that we are taught as a society, because that's not going with the flow. Asking those questions, asking those follow-up questions, giving those viewpoints that may not be just so easily accepted creates a challenge. It creates an obstacle. It creates possibly a barrier to that acceptance that we're all looking for. So I love that you came on today and you shared this, because it really touches on a lot of things that drive our personal relationships, our romantic relationships, all deriving from our childhood traumas, our desire to align with social norms, and ultimately getting the strength to learn about yourself and be true to yourself, no matter how it aligns with those things, is such a powerful statement. So I just really appreciate you joining us today and sharing that. And is there any last kind of words or advice you want to leave our listeners today?
Yes, absolutely. Last year, for the mental health, under the leadership of Sarah Mackinder, 25 people, 24 women and one man, has written each of them own chapter and packed with life lessons. How people went through the mental breakdown, difficulties in life, and how they stood up for themselves. Why I suggest to read? Because it will save your life. It will save your time. It will show you the way it's worth to identify your values today, so tomorrow you know where you are in your life. And courage, simple word. Have your courage. Like you mentioned about the acceptance. Why do we so easily accepting wrongdoings by others? At the same time, we declining our own values to please them.
To be accepted by them.
Right? So the number one person you need to accept, you need to have a courage, is love yourself. Accept yourself, because you are unique, and I believe that lessons that we do have today in the world can make your world even more beautiful. And I wish that from deep of my heart, to have absolutely let your vision be your drive way life.
Now, where can folks find you online? Where can they find access to download content and just engage with you more?
You can find me on Instagram, VLM Leadership Craft. You can, for the link for the book, I'm happy to share with you. On Amazon is available for various countries. And I think, yes, on Facebook as well. But Instagram, I invite everyone on Instagram. I speak there about leadership, self-leadership, toxic needs. In my chapter in the book, you will read and learn quite a lot around toxic needs. What kind of exercise I'm suggesting there. Very good one for any moment in our life, and really powerful. It's a drive for action. So, see you everyone at Instagram, VLM Leadership Craft. And Julianne, thank you so much. It was absolutely a pleasure to have a chance to share with you and your audience the learnings that I gathered. There are more, but yes, I do hope that for the self-love, self-awareness, and self-value, we said wonderful things here today.
I love it. I look forward to all my guests, but I was very much looking forward to you in this conversation because I knew we were going to unpack some pretty deep and heavy things, but I like that you have a talent for doing it very digestibly. I mean, we basically kind of went through our entire life, cycle, but in a very straightforward, very digestible way. So I really appreciate having you on this morning and just wish you the best with the best rest of your day and the best weekend.
Thank you so much. And I wish you too. Wonderful. I am in the middle of the day. You are starting your day. So definitely have the good one, and great relaxing weekend ahead, as to everybody who is listening. Thank you.